Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Nights. This is Kevin, and tonight we'll live as a medieval witch's cat. My name is Midnight, and I am, without question, the most important resident of this cottage. The human who lives here, Elara, though I mostly think of her as my human, seems to believe she's in charge. But we cats know better. She feeds me, provides warmth, and keeps the cottage clean for my comfort. A perfectly adequate arrangement. This morning begins like most others, with an outrage. I wake to find my food bowl empty. Completely, scandalously empty. Now, not even a morsel of yesterday's fish remains. This is clearly a catastrophe of the highest order, and I inform my human of this travesty with a series of pointed yowls that echo throughout the cottage. But as I stretch, because one must maintain proper form even in a crisis, a scent hits my sensitive nose that makes my whiskers twitch with indignation. There is a stranger in my garden. An interloper, a usurper of my rightful territory. Through the cottage's small windows, I spot the offender. A brown tabby cat, bold as brass, actually eating my catnip. My catnip. The nerve of this creature knows no bounds. I puff my tail to its full magnificent size and stalk to the door, where I execute a perfect, pitiful, starving cat routine until Elara opens it for me. Humans are so easily trained when you know the right techniques. The morning air is crisp, with the promise of autumn, and I can smell rain coming from the west. But first, territorial matters must be addressed. The invading cat, clearly a peasant with no understanding of proper boundaries, has the audacity to look up from my catnip and meow at me as if we're equals. I fix him with my most withering stare, the one that has cowed mice and made grown humans step aside. This is my domain, I communicate through a series of tail lashes and strategic ear positions. You are trespassing. The stranger, of course apparently too dim to understand basic cat protocol, actually sits down and begins grooming himself. In my garden, while staring directly at me. The insult cuts deep. I begin my approach, slow, deliberate, each paw placed with calculated precision. This is psychological warfare at its finest. But before I can reach optimal intimidation range, disaster strikes from an entirely unexpected direction. Oh, what a lovely cat! My human has appeared, and she's speaking in that ridiculous voice she uses when she thinks something is cute. To my absolute horror, she's walking toward the intruder with what appears to be a bowl of cream. "You must be hungry, poor thing," she coos, setting down my cream for this vagrant. The betrayal stings. Have I not served faithfully? Have I not graced her cottage with my presence, accepting her offerings with dignity? And now she feeds random strays in front of me, as if my position means nothing. I execute a tactical retreat to reconsider my strategy, settling on the stone wall that borders the herb garden. From here I can survey my domain while plotting the downfall of this usurper. A strange cat who I've decided to call the interloper until I can devise a more insulting name, drinks my cream with obvious enjoyment. When he finishes, he has the gall to approach my wall. "Nice territory you have here," he says, in the easy manner of cats who've never had to fight for anything. "I'm Whiskers. My humans just moved to the village. They're the new blacksmith family." Whiskers. Of course he has a common name like that. No dignity whatsoever. I inform him with as much authority as I can muster. I am Midnight, guardian of this sacred space, protector of the herb garden, and chief advisor to the village's most skilled healer. This is my domain, granted to me by right of residence, intelligence, and superior hunting abilities. Whisker tilts his head. "Your human makes medicine?" I should have expected such ignorance. "My human," I explain with barely concealed patience, "is a master of the healing arts. She communes with plants, creates remedies that ease suffering, and possesses knowledge passed down through generations. I, naturally, am her most trusted assistant." This is entirely true. I do assist. Just yesterday, I knocked over a jar of bitter herbs that would have ruined a perfectly good tonic, saving my human, of course, from grave error. She didn't thank me properly, but humans rarely understand the subtleties of my help. "So, she's a witch?" Whiskers asks, with what sounds like interest rather than fear. I consider this carefully. The villagers do call her a witch sometimes, usually whispered behind their hands when they think no one is listening. But I've heard how they say it, sometimes with suspicion, sometimes with desperate hope when their children are sick and the village priest's prayers aren't enough. "She is what she needs to be," I replied diplomatically. "This is wisdom I've gained from years of observation. Labels matter less than results, and my human gets results." Our philosophical discussion is interrupted by a commotion from the cottage. Raised voices carry through the morning air, and I recognize the deeper tones of Brother Benedict, the village priest. My fur stands up instinctively. Brother Benedict makes my human nervous, which makes me suspicious of him in principle. He has a habit of sniffing around the cottage, poking at things with his walking stick, and asking pointed questions about the source of Elara's knowledge. More importantly, he smells like incense and disapproval. Two scents I find deeply offensive. I abandoned my territorial dispute for the moment and bound through the cottage door. Whiskers, apparently lacking any sense of propriety, follows me. The scent inside confirms my worst suspicions. Brother Benedict stands near my human's work table, his sharp eyes scanning the carefully arranged herbs and bottles. My human Elara stands beside him, her hands clapped tightly in front of her, a sure sign of distress. "The church has concerns," Brother Benedict is saying, his voice carrying the weight of authority that humans seem to find so intimidating. "Your remedies have become quite popular. People speak of miraculous recoveries." "I only help where I can," my human replies quietly, "using knowledge of plants and their properties. Nothing more." I position myself strategically near the work table. If Brother Benedict gets too close to anything important, I'm prepared to take action. It wouldn't be the first time I've accidentally knocked something over to protect my human's interests. "Knowledge," Brother Benedict repeats slowly. "Knowledge. And where did you acquire this knowledge? It was not from our monastery's texts." This is dangerous territory. I can smell the tension rising like smoke from a poorly tended fire. My human's hands are trembling slightly, and I know she's thinking of her grandmother, who taught her the old ways in secret, away from the church's disapproving gaze. But before my human can formulate a response that won't get her in trouble, another voice interrupts from the doorway. "Brother Benedict, thank the Virgin you're here." Anna, the baker's wife, bursts into the cottage, her face flushed from running. Behind her comes young Tom, the blacksmith's apprentice, supporting a heavily pregnant woman I recognize as Mary, the miller's daughter. "The baby's coming," Anna gasps, "and something's wrong. She's been laboring since yesterday dawn, but the child won't come. Please, Brother Benedict, you must—"
"I am a priest, not a midwife,"
Brother Benedict says stiffly, but I can see uncertainty in his eyes. The church teaches that suffering in childbirth is God's will, punishment for Eve's sin. But faced with Mary's obvious distress, even he seems troubled. All eyes, of course, turn to my human, This is the moment I've seen before, when the village's suspicion of her unnatural knowledge clashes with their desperate need for her skills. My human steps forward without hesitation. "Bring her to the bed," she instructs Tom and Anna. "Brother Benedict, if you wish to help, please pray for both mother and child while I examine her." I watch with some sort of admiration as my human transforms from nervous woman to confident healer. This is why I chose to stay with her. This moment, when she becomes something more than human, when her knowledge flows like water finding its proper course. While the humans bustle around settling Mary on the cottage's small bed, I notice Brother Benedict's attention returning to the work table. He spotted the mandrake root, partially hidden behind a jar of mint leaves. Mandrake is problematic. The church considers it devil's work, even though it's one of the most effective pain remedies available. Time for some direct action. I leap onto the table with fluid grace, positioning myself directly in front of the mandrake. Then I begin the most enthusiastic grooming session of my life, making sure my luxurious black fur fans out to completely obscure the offending plant. Brother Benedict frowns at me.
"Shoo, cat, shoo."
I, of course, completely ignore him, switching to grooming my hindquarters with the dedication of a monk at prayer. From this position, I can keep one eye on him while providing maximum coverage for the mandrake.
"Persistent creature,"
he mutters, but Mary's labored breathing draws his attention back to the more immediate crisis. My human works with quiet efficiency, her hands gentle as she examines Mary. I can see the concerns in her eyes. This birth is not progressing as it should. The baby has turned wrong, and without help, both mother and child are in danger. "The infant is breech," Elara murmurs to Anna. "I need to..." "Is there anything you can do?" Anna interrupts, her voice cracking. "Some remedy? Some technique?" The word hangs in the air like smoke. Everyone knows what Anna is really asking. Does Elara have knowledge beyond what the church approves? Can she do what the priests cannot? Brother Benedict's eyes narrow, and I can sense the trap closing around my human. If she admits to special knowledge, she risks accusations of witchcraft. If she does nothing, Mary and her child may die. But my human has more courage than the priest realizes. "Anna, I need you to boil water. Tom, there are clean linens in the chest by the window. Brother Benedict?" She pauses, meeting his gaze directly. "I am going to attempt to turn this child. It is a technique I've learned from my grandmother, who served as midwife in this village for 30 years. There is nothing supernatural about it, only knowledge of the human body and God's design." The priest considers this. My human has been clever, invoking her grandmother's respected memory and framing her knowledge in terms of divine creation rather than unholy power. While humans prepare for the difficult birth ahead, I notice movement outside the window. Whiskers has gone back to the garden, but he's not alone. The village children have discovered him, and they're making a terrible racket trying to coax him closer. This prevents a new problem. The cottage is already crowded with the birth crisis, and the last thing we need is a gaggle of children adding to the chaos. I abandon my post guarding the mandrake and slip outside through the partially open door. The scene in the garden is worse than I feared. Not only are there 6 children making noise, but they've trampled through Elara's carefully tended herb plots and their enthusiasm to pet the new cat. Young Sarah has managed to grab Whiskers and is squeezing him with the excessive affection that children mistake for love. I could simply ignore this disaster, but the herb garden is sacred. Those plants are essential to my human's work, and I cannot stand by while they're destroyed by careless feet. I execute my most impressive threat display. Back arched, fur standing on end, a yowl that could wake the dead. The children freeze, suddenly remembering why their parents tell them to be careful around cats.
Shoo, children, I command, advancing with deliberate menace. Away from the sacred herbs. This is not a playground.
Most of the children scatter, but young Sarah holds on to Whiskers with stubborn determination. This calls for more subtle tactics. I approach her slowly, switching to my most persuasive purr. Children are sensitive creatures. Show them something more interesting than what they're currently doing, and they'll abandon their first focus immediately. Sarah, I meow in my most compelling voice, winding around her ankles. Wouldn't you rather help inside? There's a baby being born, very exciting, much more interesting than bothering a strange cat. She releases Whiskers to pet me instead. Victory. Sometimes diplomacy works better than intimidation. Sarah listens inside. Her eyes widen. I purr, gently herding her toward the cottage door. Your assistance may be needed. Very important work for a big girl like you. The other children, drawn by Sarah, forget about the garden entirely and crowd toward the cottage. I allow them to enter first and follow with my dignity intact. Inside, the birth is progressing. My human has successfully turned the baby, and Mary's labored breathing has erased slightly. Brother Benedict kneels nearby, praying quietly, while Anna boils water and Tom hovers anxiously. The children's arrival actually helps. Their excited chatter distracts Mary from her pain, and their innocence seems to reassure Brother Benedict that nothing unholy is happening here. Just a skilled woman helping another woman in the most natural way possible. I settle on my favorite cushion near the hearth, keeping one eye on the proceedings while maintaining my dignity. Whiskers, apparently lacking any sense of appropriate boundaries, makes himself comfortable on my second favorite cushion. I allow this temporary transgression given the circumstances. The birth takes another hour, but finally, a baby's cry fills the cottage. Mary weeps with relief, while my human wraps the infant, a healthy boy, in clean linen. Anna bustles about making tea, Tom grins like he personally accomplished something miraculous, and even Brother Benedict looks satisfied. "God's work," the priest announces, and my human nods humbly, though I can see the pride in her eyes. She did this. Her knowledge, her skill, her courage saved 2 lives today. As the excitement settles and the visitors prepare to leave, I notice Brother Benedict approaching the work table once more. But this time, his attention is caught by something else entirely. A small jar of honey that's been knocked over, its contents spreading across the wooden surface. I follow his gaze and realize with horror that in all the commotion, someone has disturbed my careful arrangement. The mandrake root is now clearly visible, sitting in a pool of honey like evidence of some arcane ritual. Brother Benedict's eyes narrow. "What plant is this?" My human turns, sees the exposed mandrake, and I watch her face pale. This could ruin everything. After successfully helping with the birth, after demonstrating that her knowledge comes from natural learning rather than dark powers, this single plant could still damn her. But then, Whiskers does something extraordinary. The foolish tabby cat suddenly yowls as if in great distress and launches himself directly at the work table. His claws catch the edge of the honey jar, sending it spinning across the surface. The jar strikes the mandrake root, knocking it to the floor where it rolls under a cabinet and out of sight. Brother Benedict steps back, brushing honey from his robes with obvious annoyance. "You clumsy beast!" "I'm so sorry," my human says quickly, moving to clean up the mess. "The cats must have gotten onto the table while we were distracted. You know how curious they can be." I stare at Whiskers in amazement. This bumbling interloper has just saved my human from serious trouble, and he did so naturally that Brother Benedict suspects nothing more than feline mischief. Perhaps this strange cat isn't entirely without merit. Brother Benedict departs with the others, apparently satisfied with whatever he witnessed. As the cottage returns to quiet, my human sinks into her chair with visible relief. "Well," she murmurs, scratching behind my ear in the way I particularly enjoy. "That could have gone much worse." I purr agreement, then look meaningfully toward the cabinet where the mandrake root lies hidden. Some things are better kept secret.
at least from small-minded humans who can't appreciate the full spectrum of healing arts. But the day is far from over. As the afternoon sun slants through the cottage windows, I notice movement in the root cellar where my human stores her dried herbs. The wooden stairs creak under small, skittering feet, and my hunting instincts sharpen immediately. Rats. This is a serious problem. The cellar contains not just food stores, but precious herbs that take months to dry properly. A family of rats could destroy weeks of careful preparation in a single night. I inform Whiskers of the situation, and to his credit, he immediately grasps the severity of the crisis. "How many?" he asks, his ears prickled forward alertly. "At least 3 adults, possibly with young ones," I report, after a careful sniff near the cellar entrance. "They've made nests in the grain sacks and begun investigating the herb bundles." "This is war then," Whiskers says, with the first show of proper seriousness I've seen from him. And so, we descend into the cellar together, our eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through the small windows. The space is cramped but organized. Shelves lined with pottery jars, bundles of herbs hanging from the ceiling, sacks of grain and dried beans arranged against the walls. And there, bold as you please, a large brown rat sits atop a sack of barley, actually eating the grain while staring directly at us. I exchange a look with Whiskers. This level of disrespect cannot stand. "You take the left side," I whisper. "I'll circle right. We drive them toward the center where they can't escape." "Agreed," Whiskers whispers back. "On your signal." The hunt that follows is a thing of beauty. 2 cats working in perfect coordination, using the cellar's layout to our advantage, of course. We flush out not 3 rats, but 5. A serious infestation that could have caused tremendous damage if left unchecked. I personally account for 2 of the invaders, while Whiskers proves surprisingly content by catching one and cornering another until I can assist. The 5th rat escapes through a crack in the foundation, but not before I land a warning bite that will ensure it spreads word about the new security arrangements. As we emerge from the cellar, victorious and slightly dusty, I realize that Whiskers has earned a measure of respect. Any cat who takes rat hunting seriously and doesn't attempt to claim credit for my kills deserves consideration as a potential ally, rather than an interloper. "Your territory is well defended now," Whiskers says, grooming cellar dust from his paws. "Those rats won't return soon." "Our territory," I correct him, surprising myself with the admission. "It seems there's enough space for 2 cats, provided proper protocols are observed, of course." Whiskers looks pleased, but doesn't push his luck by acting overly familiar. "Yes. Smart cat. Yes." Our diplomatic breakthrough is interrupted by a new crisis
Through the cottage windows, I can see dark clouds building on the western horizon. The rain I smelled this morning is finally approaching, and it looks to be a serious storm. Now this presents multiple problems. First, my human has herbs drying on outdoor racks that must be brought inside before they're ruined. Second, the neighbors' chickens are loose again, wandering through the village and likely to end up in our garden seeking shelter. Third, and most personally concerning, I can smell wet dog approaching from the direction of the mill. Dogs and cats have a natural understanding about territory, but wet dogs lose all sense altogether. They shake themselves wherever they please. They track mud through clean spaces and generally make nuisances of themselves. I alert my human to the approaching weather by the time-tested method of running to the cottage door, yowling urgently, then running to the window to stare meaningfully at the clouds. She, of course, being properly trained by myself, immediately grasps the situation. "Oh, the herbs!" she exclaims, hurrying outside to gather the drying racks. Whiskers and I assist by supervising the operation and ensuring no precious plants are left behind. The wind is picking up now, and I can hear thunder rumbling in the distance. But as we work, the chicken situation becomes critical. Sure enough, a flock of the neighbor's birds comes flapping and squawking into the garden, seeking shelter from the approaching storm. Normally, I might ignore them. Chickens are too large for practical hunting and too stupid for interesting conversation. But they're heading directly for the freshly planted herb seedlings that represent my human's winter medicine supply. This cannot be allowed. I signal to Whiskers, and we execute a perfect pincer movement. I take the direct approach, advancing with purpose and announcing my territorial claims through strategic hissing. Whiskers circles wide, appearing behind the flock to prevent escape in that direction. The chickens, being chickens, immediately panic and begin running in circles while squawking at volumes that could wake the dead. This attracts the attention of young Tom the blacksmith, who comes running to investigate the commotion. "Here, here," Tom calls, waving his arms to herd the chickens back toward their proper home. "Come along, you silly birds." With human assistance, we successfully redirect the chicken invasion. The birds retreat to their own yard just as the first fat raindrops begin to fall. Whiskers and I take shelter under the cottage's small porch, watching the storm develop with professional interest. Rain means fewer mice venturing out, but it also drives insects seeking dry places, creating different hunting opportunities. "Good day's work," Whisker comments, settling into a comfortable loaf position. "Indeed," I agree, though I maintain my dignity by keeping some distance between us. Alliance is one thing, excessive familiarity is another. The storm passes quickly, leaving the air clean and cool. As evening approaches, my human prepares our dinner. Fresh fish from the morning market, cream from the grateful miller whose daughter delivered safely, and a special portion of catnip for me
as recognition of my day's service. Whiskers, being a guest, receives a respectable meal of fish scraps and fresh water. I note with approval that he waits for me to begin eating before starting my own meal. Proper etiquette. As we dine, I reflect on the day's events. Territory successfully defended. Rats eliminated. Dangerous herbs protected from official scrutiny. Chickens redirected. Storm preparations completed. A thoroughly productive day by any measure. But more than that, I've gained an ally. Now, Whiskers may lack my sophistication and deep knowledge of the cottage's routines, but he's proven himself competent in crises and respectful of proper hierarchy. These are valuable qualities in a partner. After dinner, as my human settles by the fire with her mending, both cats find our preferred spots in the cottage's warm embrace. I claim my traditional position on the cushion nearest the hearth, while Whiskers settles on a rag nearby. Close enough to demonstrate acceptance, far enough to show he understands his place. The cottage fills with the peaceful sounds of the evening. The fire crackling softly, my human's needle moving through fabric. The gentle patter of residual rain on the thatched roof. Outside, the village settles into sleep, secure in the knowledge that skilled hands are available when needed. I begin my evening grooming routine, a meditative process that helps me process the day's events. Today brought challenges, but each was met and overcome with proper application of feline wisdom and strategic thinking. My human glances over at us, and I catch the fond smile on her face. She understands, I think, that she is blessed now with not just one but two guardian cats. Double the protection, double the hunting prowess, double the wisdom to guide her through whatever challenges tomorrow may bring. As the fire burns lower, and the cottage grows drowsy, I allow my eyes to drift closed. Tomorrow will bring new adventures, new problems to solve, new demonstrations of my superior intelligence and tactical thinking. But tonight, all is well in my domain. I purr softly, the sound joining with Whiskers' gentle snoring and the settling sounds of the cottage around us. This is how it should be, predator and prey in proper balance, territory secure, allies chosen wisely, and humans properly supervised. Life, as a witch's cat, is challenging work. But someone must do it, and I, Midnight, am clearly the cat for the job. The last thing I see before I sleep is my human banking the fire for the night, moving with the quiet confidence of someone who knows her place in the world. Thanks to my efforts, and admittedly some small assistance from Whiskers, she is safe. Her reputation intact, her skills available to help the village through whatever troubles may come. Tomorrow I shall have to teach Whiskers about the seasonal herb gathering routines, the proper protocol for dealing with various types of human visitors, and the ancient art of appearing completely innocent while conducting necessary surveillance operations. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That is tomorrow's work. Tonight we rest, secure in our cottage, surrounded by the scents of healing herbs, the warmth of well-tended fire. All of it is as it should be in the domain of Midnight, guardian cat, tactical advisor, and keeper of cottage wisdom. My purr deepens as sleep approaches, a sound of complete satisfaction with the day's work well